Things have been getting very interesting on the Ambernick Linux side lately. And while Ambernick has made many Linux handhelds, I'm actually talking about some higher end handhelds like the RG Vita Pro, a handheld that can dual boot from Linux and Android. And while Rodnix has been on there for a while, I think that Android has been the better overall solution for that up until now. And Ambernick has surprised me because they've updated their Linux version. And I just wanted to take a moment to relook at this handheld because I'm getting some surprising results. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. But I want to dive in and talk about the RG Vita Pro, specifically the new Linux update that dropped and the results that I'm seeing on it. Let's go.
Is this the correct way that you spell our customer?
Leah.
Leah. Girl. Don't you see the dash?
Yeah, Karen, can't you see it's La Dash? Do you not see the dash right there? I mean, come on. It's not that hard. Thank God we got that out of the way. But today we're going to take a look at the newly dropped Linux update on the Ambernick RG Vita Pro. Now, while there's the RG Vita that has the T618, that version only has Android. And so the Pro, because it can dual boot, has already been a very interesting handheld. But now that Ambernick, as of last week, dropped their new update, I'm seeing some quite surprising improvements here, including some battery life on standby that really surprised me. Now, this is no scientific testing, but I left the thing in sleep mode and was surprised for 3 days. I didn't do anything with it. I picked it up and it only lost about 5%. Really surprising. I was then able to repeat that and I got about a 7% drop. So let's take a look at this, what they've updated, what it looks like, and the new software, and talk about, is this really a great update? All right, so we'll get this thing booted up here. And this came out, I think, last week, but as you turn it on, once you have it in its Linux configuration, it will boot up into Linux as long as you have that SD card in there. Now remember, the Android implementation is on the internal eMMC, so you do have to have the Linux card. I do believe if you buy these are shipping with the Linux card. It may not be updated to the latest version, so you may have to update it, but it's pretty simple. But as we boot up here, you can see that it's going to pick the card and it's going to install some of the resources that may be needed for Linux. It's a pretty quick boot up. And the first thing we're going to see here is this really nice looking new front end. It is touchscreen, as you can see here, which is pretty neat. Now, touchscreen on Linux is not something I typically find to be advantageous. I think it's better for Android. But the beauty of this CPU, specifically this Vita Pro, is that you can do both. That's why I really like this handheld quite a bit. But you can see here we have this sort of overview layout here that is really easy. I like how it pops and glows as you go through each of the sections here. We do have typical sections that we're used to seeing from Ambernick. So we still have our game rooms. We have our RA game, which is your RetroArch. We do have a search function, the app center, favorites, history, and settings. So the sections that are available are not really any different than what we've seen before. It's just got this nice little look to it that I think is quite nice and effective. If we go into game rooms, we do then have the games that will be organized like this. Now, this is the simpler setup, the setup for somebody that may be less experienced, somebody that is just starting out with Linux or with these handheld systems. It's going to pretty much play the games in a way that is super straightforward. For example, if we go into we'll go into DC here, into the Dreamcast, and we'll pull up Dead or Alive 2 here, the USA version. And you're going to see as it's loading here, we get a really simple menu to use here. Now it's loaded in a full screen 16:9, but if I hit this this button over here, this Ambernick button, you can see we do now have our little section here where we can start to change things. Now this is just booting into the standalone emulator here, but we'll pull it up and you can see this beautiful screen, this 1080p screen really shines and really looks beautiful to do it. I mean, just look at how gorgeous that is. And the CPU here, the Rockchip 3576, is very performant for Dreamcast. I found it to be, you know, very useful, very easy. But let's back out of here, and I want to show you just a few more of the systems here. And they have nice little sections here for each one so that you can go into it. The PlayStation section here will pull up some Bloody Roar 2 because who doesn't love a great PlayStation? And let me tell you, this is running the DuckStation, so you do have the advantage again of standalone here, and we have some really nice looking abilities here. We can run 5x, yes, 5x on PlayStation 1, and we can have some post-processing filters that make this thing look fantastic. This high-resolution LCD screen is quite impressive, and because I think that DuckStation is just more fully featured on Linux, this would be, again, a preferred way to play your PlayStation 1 games. I found that this is an excellent PS1, especially if you're going to play in widescreen using widescreen patches. So as we look here, and I pull in the Bloody Roar here, which is a fantastic game, by the way. If you've never played it, you might check it out. We do have such a beautiful screen here. Again, we have some pretty good bottom firing speakers for an overall excellent. I'm very curious about the upcoming 55G1 because I'm trying to figure out where this is going to fit overall into its ecosystem, because the price point for this is a little curious because yes, you have like the Retro Pocket 4 Pro that you can pick up, which has been discontinued. We have seen some very competitive with this, but look at how crisp and clear this is for PS1. This is running at 1080p on this beautiful 1080p screen. Again, we're at 5x. It's running with a widescreen patch, and it just looks, oh my gosh, it looks gorgeous, as if we have a recompiled, upscreened new version of this. Now, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about here as I get out of this and go back in is the fact that what surprised me so much about this, and look at this just looks nice. It just has a presentation that I think is much better than Android. I mean, I really like Android for many, many things, but this has just been really good. But if we back out of here and go into our RetroArch section, you can see that we have a bunch more systems that we have access to that don't have standalone or necessarily not loaded. Something like your Game Boy Color or your Game Boy Advance. But what really got me here is the battery. I was having some playtime with this. I turned it off, not off, like I didn't shut it down. I just turned it off and came back to it 2 days later, forgetting about it, remembering, oh yeah, there's the new OS. And I was surprised at how little battery it had lost from just sitting there. Usually Linux is not as good as Android for sleeping. But however, in this case, I was really surprised with it. And I've found that in repeat testing, this is getting some pretty good sleep in it. It is something, I don't know, I guess maybe Ambernick's just been cooking. They've been working on this. They've really been ultimizing this to the most core. But when we get back, I'm going to show you some more of this new overlay, the themes, what it looks like, and we'll talk a little bit more about why I think this is a really good update. I'm excited about the future for this, and I want to see Ambernick continue to maybe be the one company that really keeps pushing Linux and bringing us more Linux stuff. We'll be right back. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt the video, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about this awesome product. If you're like me, you might have been disappointed playing the Switch in handheld mode because of the D-pad. But look at this. That's right. I have the Absolute, the N6 controller. This is a game changer for playing this in handheld mode. And while I love playing my Switch 2 docked, when I want to play it in handheld mode, I found that this amazing little item has really improved my experience. And I've been waiting a while from this. And yes, Cracked is coming out with a Nitro too, and that may ultimately be a great product as well. But now this is available at a fantastic price. It's got great rumble, great controls. It comes in this awesome GameCube color, which looks amazing, and it just works. I was surprised at just slipping my Switch 2 into this and how it just connected and it just started working. The rumble felt great, the controls felt great. I could play fighting games that I want to play on this, like Street Fighter 6, and actually feel like I have some control. Hit the link below if you want to pick one of these up. We often have sales or codes down below, but this is a great item that I've really enjoyed, and I just wanted to share this. Now back to the show. All right, so taking a look at the App Center, and pretty much not a lot has changed here. We still have the ability to do some things on the Linux side that you might do on the Android side, which is like media consumption. If you put files on your card, then you can play music, and there is two different music players here, which I found to be kind of intriguing. It is, probably not the best way to use this. Maybe the RG Rotate is a better music player overall, but I like that they had it. But the one thing I wanted to point out was this software manager. If you go into the software manager here, you're going to see there's a whole lot of functions you can do here, which I think is very useful, especially since this is an Ambernic flavor of it. It's giving you some of the abilities that you might have seen in other custom firmwares. We do have the ability to back up and restore your game data. We can clear the history, install game resources. Now, this is where if you want to install things like the bezels, the other things, you can pick which card you want to install it to. And so it's pretty nice that they give that. One of the smartest things that Ambernic did here was include 2 SD card slots. Again, we are talking about a somewhat pricey, offering here, but with sales, I think this is becoming an even better value. The 3576 has shown to be capable enough to play a little bit of higher emulation, and things like N64, Dreamcast are going to play really great, including a little bit of low-level 3DS. But overall, you can go and remove files, rescue files, restore the emulator default settings. You can start your RetroArch in either 32-bit or 64-bit. You can start your PS2. That's right, we have PS2 functionality, which is in a lot of ways better on the Linux side of things. I did find that running Ether SX2 is preferable to running the Android side for this. I found that I got pretty good. Now, let's be realistic here. This is at the level of T618, maybe a little lower for PS2. I wouldn't really even call this a PS2 machine. Think of it as a bonus. And so it's not something that I spent a lot of time using for PS2, but some games are going to play better than others. Some games won't play at all. So just keep that in mind. But you do have Azahar here, which I thought was a great inclusion, and 3DS on this is playing at a level that's a little bit better because we have a touch screen here. It makes it a lot easier to actually use this. Sometimes in these Linux builds, trying to navigate this is not very intuitive, but I like that we can use, as you can see here, I can just touch the screen to pick the menu and do things like load my files. So I found that to be very, very effective, and I liked it quite a bit. This is, again, a well thought out system that you can see that Ambernic has been cooking on and using for a while here. We have Hatasari, Melon DS, Portmaster, PPSSPP, which for a 16.9 system, again, a 3576, this is an excellent PSP machine. Now, we don't have Vita 3K2. I don't know that it would play well. Again, I don't think that's even great on Android, even on something like the Odin 3, so I'm not sure that missing that is a really big deal. But I love all the abilities that go in here. You can even test your touchscreen, and you can do something like switch to vertical arcade mode if you want to do that and play some of the games between that. Now, you also have your file manager, you have your image viewer, your key test, and then you have this wee wee, which is like, oh, you said wee wee, like YouTube of China. Now, I found that using this is not too bad, especially since we have the touch screen. So it kind of feels a little bit more like I am on Android with this touchscreen. So it's kind of neat. I find a lot of interesting content. Some of the content I get from overseas comes from this. So it's a really cool place to go. I'm glad they included that. I like that it's on there, but it is having to be navigated through, non-English channels. You have a calendar here. And so, yeah, if you go in, you got your favorites, your history. And then if we look at settings, we have a typical settings menu. One thing I like is that they have a pretty good setting here that they put in for your lights here. You can, change the lights to many different modes here. Joystick chasing, phantom. We want it to breathe very slowly. We can pick how fast it's breathing and all those things here. Of course, you have your network settings, which is really good. You even have some of the things we're used to seeing in Rocknix, like your HTTP server for gadget function. If you want to download games directly on your ROMs, hook it up through USB function, Tailscale. There's a lot of functionality here. What's really interesting, there's some streaming settings here, and so if you go in here, you can see that it's looking for my server here, the Sunshine server that I have here, and I can pretty quickly and easily connect here. It put the pin up on my screen for my Apollo. I just have to enter the pin here, 1619, and it will connect. And I have my device paired. It's telling me that it's successfully paired. And yes. And look, we have right here where I can run Moonlight. Pretty easy, pretty quick to do. I can go in here and run this very easily to run my games through my Steam machine here. Once I get it set up, I don't have it running on my computer, but it's very interesting that we can do this. You have a scraper function. Now, the scraper function only has the arcade DB, which I find to be a little strange. I'm not sure why we're limited. We don't have some of our others, and there's no way to add that. So that's a little bit of a knock on it. And then in your system settings, you can choose to make it boot to default Linux, or you can have it where it'll go into Android. And to get back into Linux, you have to hold this button while rebooting, which you can do as well. You can set all your settings here, your front-end developer options, increasing your VRAM limit to make sure this does the best it can, your system management and reset. So if you mess up any configurations, you can go and fully reset everything here. This is, again, a very impressive build. I did want to show you one last thing. We're going to show you these themes. And so we do have this Vita style, but you can go back into this Aurora style. And this is pretty nice too. I think this looks and pops on the screen, this beautiful screen again. I will point out it shows your card is number 2. So I do have 2 cards in here. The games are coming off 2. You can switch that pretty easily if you need to. Again, it is just really, really nice looking here. And then we have one other theme. I'm hoping that Ambernick will give us some more themes, but this is your typical traditional theme we're used to seeing, or the first one it came with. But for me, I really like that we have this Vita set. I just like the way that looks. I think it looks great and bright and beautiful. And again, this is just running beautifully. I'm having such a fantastic time here playing with this handheld. And this is just one side of it. Again, you can still go into and play on Android and do all the things that Android can do if that's something you're looking forward to. You see we have the nice bezels set up here. We have the nice overlay. It's really beautiful and everything looks great and fantastic. And it's just beautiful. So, Yeah, guys, I just wanted to kind of do this overview of the newest update. I found it to be very effective, to be good with its overall battery management and sleep management. I found the options to be wonderful, the new theme to be great, the fact that it can pretty easily and effectively navigate, connect, and do all the things you'd want out of your Linux based system. So let me know what you think. Are you going to pick one of these up? Do you have one? Have you tried the new update here? What do you think? Is RockNeck still preferred for you? Because don't forget, we can do that. I've also heard some rumblings of possibly other custom firmwares coming. I hope they do. This is becoming a quite a favorite of mine lately here. And so the RG551 that's coming, I don't know. We'll see. I'll see if I like it better. But even though it's Snapdragon or supposedly Snapdragon, is it going to have Linux support? Is it going to be dual boot? I don't know. Remember to hug your loved ones and love your hugged ones because tomorrow's never promised. We'll see you next time, Deadheads. Dead Fred out.